Welcome back to Giants Latest. Couple more updates and conversations to have from minicamp now that it's complete. So let's go ahead and talk about something that Dable said in regards to Cordell Flott and Tay Banks, because Flott has been getting quite a bunch of reps with the ones opposite Paulson Adebo. Now, Paulson Adebo has been getting all of the snaps at cornerback one. So it's only been cornerback two that has been a competition or a rotation, which has been between Banks and Flott. And Dable basically said, yeah, it's a competition. We're going to see who's going to end up getting that spot opposite Paulson, which I thought was very interesting because for the last couple of years, it's been Banks is either cornerback one or cornerback two. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Flott, who has been on the roster the whole time, there's been no competition there. And yes, he's gotten some reps in that position from, training camp and preseason and things like that, but he never got the starting role over Banks, and it was never said from the coaching staff that this is a real competition. So I like that Dable is fostering competition at certain positions. He did say that there will be certain positions that are open for players to kind of duke it out, and may the best player win. But I thought it was really interesting that he said that about wide receiver too. And I've seen some questions saying, is this like a real competition or did Dable just say that? And look, I think if you're Brian Dable, you have to let the best man win. You need the best player on the field for all of those snaps. And then if that happens to be Cordell Flott, by the time that training camp and preseason are over, then you have to go along with that. So I think that it should be an open competition. Banks hasn't really proved a lot last year. I do think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think having new coaching in the building, specifically at the cornerback position, is going to help him. But I also think that, he had a bad attitude last year, and it sounds like that has changed this year. But I also think that Dable has a history of being a player's coach where, he's not really tough on the discipline. It sounds like he only gives the quarterbacks a hard time and literally no one else. So I think that he needs to put it out there that you're not guaranteed the starting role, whether it's because you had it last year, because we signed you in free agency, because you're getting paid the most amount of money. No, you have to work for it and you have to earn it. So I like it. I like that attitude from Dable. It's not really something that we've seen from him, and I hope that he sticks by that, and it really is the best player who wins is who is getting that started role. So I think the biggest thing to watch is going to be during training camp, of course, who gets the most amount of snaps there and who really makes the plays. Those are the things that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on during training camp, and then we'll see how that continues into the preseason. So I think at this point, Dable's right. It is a competition, and it's up to those two guys to battle it out, and whoever's the best player will get more reps. So I'm excited to watch. I think it'll be a good competition. I think someone like Tay Banks, and I feel the same way about Kayvon Thibodeaux, is I think that they need that extra motivation to kick it up a notch. And I think that we're going to see that from both of them this year. So I'm excited about that. Banks had a really good rookie year, and I want him to continue on that because when he's playing well, this Giants football team is better. And the same goes for Kayvon and everyone else on this team. So let's hope that it continues. So with that being said, all of the rookies have officially signed their deals. Darius Alexander was the last, Cameron Scadaboo was the last one to sign. No, I think it was Alexander. So between the two of them, they were the last two rookies to sign their deals within the last few days or so. So that is officially done. Rookies are set, good to go. We are not the Bengals over here putting in some crappy language, just try and screw over our first round draft pick. So happy to hear that the Giants are doing that. Best of luck to Bengals fans. I think your organization is ruining your team, and that is unfortunate with everything that's going on with Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart. Very unfortunate. But anyway, we're Giants fans, so let's get back to talking about the Giants. I want to talk about wide receiver Dalen Cambry because he is a guy that the Giants signed UDFA this offseason. And, from OTAs, I feel like we didn't really hear that much of them until towards the end. And then minicamp, he seemed to have a really good showing. And a lot of that has come from building rapport with Jackson Dart, and they have had a good connection so far. And when he's caught a few nice when he's made a few nice catches or when he's caught a touchdown, they've mostly come from Jackson Dart. So I love it. I think it's great to see these UDFA, especially wide receivers, involved. I think that's the one position that outside of the four wide receivers that we all know about, there are a couple spots 2, possibly 3 that are really open for these guys to compete for. And, we've had our share of UDFA wide receivers over the years. We all know Victor Cruz. And then, of course, most recently, David Sills, Richie James. So there's been some guys who have ended up making the roster and who have been productive for the Giants. So Dalen Cambry is a guy who's going to have that option. I think the competition is going to be tough because we've heard that guys like Juice Wells and Beau Collins and Amir Smith-Marset have also been in the competition. Now, Amir Smith-Marset is not a UDFA. But they also brought in Zach Pascal, Taquan Felton, who's probably going to be a practice squad guy. All of these guys have been having decent showings throughout OTAs and minicamp so far. Obviously, the biggest question is how do they progress throughout training camp? But I think the wide receiver competition is going to be really fun to watch. And a guy like Dalen Cambry or any one of those UDFAs is actually going to have a chance to make this roster and be a productive wide receiver regardless of who the quarterback is. So I think it's great. I love seeing these young guys. It's so easy to root for them, especially the undrafted free agents. And I'm excited to see what he can do. Obviously, I wasn't at OTAs or minicamp, so I didn't get to see any of it in person. But I'm looking forward to watching him during training camp, and especially Juice Wells. He played at Ole Miss with Jackson Dart. They had a great connection. He caught a few touchdowns from him. He looks like a great receiver. And he did pretty well throughout OTAs and minicamp. So he's a guy that I'm really focused on to see if he can take that to the next level during camp. And I would love to see him make the roster. So we will see it as time goes on. But I do think the wide receiver competition is going to be one of the best ones to watch if you are going to training camp. I think it's going to be really fun. So let's move along to team outings, because this is something that I was talking about with a couple other Giants fans recently, is that it seems like they've made a concentrated effort as of late to get all the players together. And I don't know if you guys saw the Giants social posted that they all went bowling. There was a joke that Theo Johnson was the worst of all the bowlers. They're doing things like that. We saw the picture of a big portion of the offense who all went out to dinner. Russ Wilson took them out. Tommy DeVito spoke to the media and said that him and Jackson Dart spend a lot of time together. Him and all the quarterbacks spend a lot of time. They go out to dinner. And he said that, it's a little different with guys like Russell and Jameis because they have wives, they have children, and him and Dart are single young guys taking on the city. They watch Love Island together. They go out to Italian restaurants in North Jersey. DeVito said that Dart really knows how to eat, that it's been fun going out to dinner together. We also have heard from Paulson Adebo, who went to college with Bobby O at Stanford, that they have spent a lot of time together, whether it's reviewing film or hanging out at each other's houses. Kayvon said that it's awesome getting to play with Holland because they both went to Oregon together. We know that Marcus Bowe and Tyrone Tracy went to Purdue together. So I thought it was interesting too that Kayvon called that out, that Joe has brought in guys who played well together in college. And now let's hope that continues with all of them in the NFL for the Giants. But I do think that this is important. And I know that some people are going to say, I don't care, it's not a big deal. And I get it. But I think when you look at some of the issues that this Giants team has had over the last few years, communication has been a really big part of that. And that has been a huge struggle. And the more that you get to know people, especially when you're talking about your coworkers, and their coworkers versus our coworkers are very different, right? We don't room together. We don't have breakfast together. We don't spend, meetings and nights out and all of this time together. They really eat, sleep, breathe football together. They spend a lot of time together. And, this is not a fair comparison, so please don't jump at me in the comments for saying that. But, they make comments of like, we're going into battle together, right? So it's really important that they all have each other's back and they respect each other as players and as people. And the more that you get to know these people and you learn about their families and where they came from and what they're fighting for, and why it's so important for them to succeed in the NFL and get second contracts and all of these things, the more that you're going to say, I love this guy. He's like a brother to me. I want to fight for him. I want to do whatever I can to help him be better, and same for him, and, help us improve on the field so we can win football games. That's what it's all about, right? So I do think this kind of stuff, it sounds silly, but I think at the end of the day, it's important. And we saw a perfect example of this during OTAs when there was that fight between the O-line and the D-line. That when James Hudson and Kayvon Thibodeau I think it was those two who went at it first. That Brian Burns went in to stick up for Kayvon, and one of the offensive linemen went in to stick up for his guy. That they have each other's backs, and that's so important. It really is. And I hope that it doesn't mean that we're going to continue to see fights between the players, but I hope that it means that they're really working on their communication in all aspects of getting to know each other, whether it's on the field or off the field, and that they do feel like they have each other's backs and they're all in this together. Because at the end of the day, when everyone plays well, you're gonna see that in the wins column. And if there's one guy who's not invested or who doesn't care, like Tay Banks, it rubs off on other people. So I feel like there is a different vibe this year. There's a different energy. You hear it from the players, the way that they talk to the media. They say that there's a different energy, that more players are invested and engaged and have each other's backs, and they're spending all this time together learning and watching film, et cetera, et cetera. I do think it's important. It doesn't matter if they don't win football games, but I think this is the first step to getting there, that they are willing to go onto this field with each other and say, I got your back. You know, you make a mistake, I'm going to help you out, and vice versa. So I think that's important. Like I said, we're going to hope that it translates to wins, but I love it. I think it's fun. And listen, I would watch the videos of the guys bowling all day. I like the competitiveness. I love that, you know, as soon as they get involved in any type of activity, their competitiveness and the toughness comes right off the bat. So I love to see it. I think it's entertaining. You guys let me know what you think about it in the comments, and stay tuned for more.